6th, 1998, you're actually part of one of the most highest rated episodes of WCW Nitro. You fought Chavo Guerrero. On that night, though, Goldberg defeated Hulk Hogan for the WCW Championship in the Georgia Dome, and people went crazy for that. But you're in the WCW locker room for 3 years.
Right.
Do you have any conversations with Hulk Hogan, the biggest wrestling character of all time, and what were they about? Like, what's he like backstage? Because many different people have many different stories about him.
He wasn't that accessible in the back. I never changed in the same room as him. I think he always had his own dressing room. But when I would see him in the hallway, I'd of course go up to him or I would initiate, "Hey Hulk, how you doing?" Shake his hand, and he's always very cordial. And I saw him; he was in WWE in 2005 when I was there.
Yep.
Same thing, just one of the boys. I never seen him act out or give anyone a hard time or raise his voice or anything like that. And whenever I said hello to him or anything, he said hello back. I had some small conversations with him. Actually, there was a company called XWF that came out after WCW closed, and he was involved with that and actually talked to him a little bit there about his son and all that. And he was always a cool guy. I never had any kind of, and of course I was in awe of him because this was the guy when I was a kid, you know what I mean? That he was wrestling when I was wanting to get into it, you know what I mean? So it's like being on stage with Elvis or something, you know, like, geez, you know, if he even makes eye contact with you and says hello, and once again, how many people can say that? Yeah, I'm rubbing elbows with Hulk Hogan. I'm trying to be a wrestler and I'm in the dressing room with Hulk Hogan. Well, I think that's pretty good, you know?
Right. That sounds like success to me, especially,
Yeah.
you know, in that time frame of 1998 is professional wrestling is on
Oh
fire.
man.
On
Yeah. What a
fire.
great time great timing for me to be under a contract with Ted Turner in the biggest wrestling company with all the biggest stars that, like I said, were the generation before when I was watching as a kid. Now I'm on the show with all these guys. It's just unbelievable. And that's when Goldberg got really big. And man, the reaction in that Georgia Dome, I was there, like you said, and just I went out into the arena just because I knew what that was going to be like. And I never seen anything like that since then, to be honest with you. It was just I always say that's the biggest show I was ever on and probably ever will be. I mean, I don't know how you beat 40,000 people. It's the highest rated TV show WCW ever did. You know, I mean, it's just what an unbelievable moment. You know, I mean, I hate that they tore the Georgia Dome down because for a lot of years because I live in Atlanta, I'd be driving out of the city and I could look in my rear view mirror 30 miles away and see that dome and think, man, I wrestled in that thing with the biggest wrestlers that ever lived. And you know, they tore it down and built this Mercedes Benz thing or whatever. But man, that was quite the experience. You know, I can't believe it's been 25 years, but yeah, that was a heck of a deal there. And I hope I can get on a big one like that again. But if I don't, man, I did. You know what I mean? That's why I always, you know, consider it like that. Like, wow, I got a chance to do that. And I don't want to say, man, I hope I get to do it 10 more times. Once is unbelievable for a crowd like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right about that night, though. There was something in the air, and the fact that you had Goldberg, who is, like, again, red hot, taking on Hulk
Yeah.
Hogan, the #1 bad guy, turning evil 2 years ago, forming the NWO, and that storyline. You know, people bring up the Bloodline storyline a lot of like, oh, this is a masterpiece. Nothing will ever top this. Well, you didn't go. Did you watch WCW? Did you watch
Right.
Hulk Hogan, the biggest babyface of all time, turn on the fans and join up
Oh
with the
man.
Outsiders and the NWO? And you're there. You are there. Like, what's your experience like seeing the NWO and there's Sting and there's Lex Luger and the Macho Man and DDP's rising up? Like, there's a lot going on while you're there.
Oh yeah. I was at a lot of nitros where the NWO go in the ring, the people are throwing stuff at them. It was just like they wanted to kill them. They hated them so much for just being the anti-heroes. And this was before they got so bad that they got good, right? Then the people really started cheering them as the good guys. But it's like, man, they hated Hogan and those guys for the longest time. Then they realized there's no way Sting and Lex are going to overcome them. So that's when they started to really explode as good guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, United Center, Chicago sold out, Miami Arena, all these huge venues just sold out for wrestling. And for me to even be the first match on there, I mean, it's just what an unbelievable opportunity. And I'll never forget it. And, you know, gosh, we had 7-8 million people watching those shows. Even the WCW Saturday Night Show on TBS was 2 million people were watching. It was
Yeah.
none of the shows were slouches as far as ratings. They had a lot of eyes on it. And once again, I wish it was still there today. There is AEW, and it's very similar, but just that lineage of the NWA into WCW is really like WWF to WWE. I wish it was still an entity, because they would get a lot of people opportunities to make a big career.
Years ago, I was going through a phase of watching all the old WCW Nitros. I come upon October 11th, 1995, and you and Barbarian walk out wearing masks. And I'm like, first off, I was like, whoa, Powers of Pain here. Wait a minute. They're not Powers of Pain. They're Super Assassins, and they're wearing masks.
Yeah.
Did you not own Powers of Pain? Because, again, you were using it in NWA before you joined the WWF. Did they buy it?
No. We had Powers of Pain. As for some reason, they wanted to do Super Assassins. They wanted to put us their mask, which was the stupidest thing I've ever been around in my entire life. Because every time we walked to the ring, everybody go, hey, Barbarian, Warlord. Wow, these masks are really working, Barb. Great mask. Great outfit, guys. Thank you. It sucked.
Yes. Super Assassins. Like, they're assassins, but they're super. Like, oh.
And I also said, which one's Super Assassin 1? Which one's Super Assassin 2? Listen, my youngest son was just here not long ago, and I found some really cool things out in my garage that I used to have from WWF and that, so that I completely forgot I had out there. And one of them was the Super Assassin outfit I had yet.
Wow.
And he says, Dad, I want that. I said, you want that? Here you go. Have a great time with it. I don't want it.
Wow.
I don't need it. I don't want it.
Wow. Yeah. Someone would have bought that probably.
Like I say, I told him, I said, man, I could put that in the market and get good money for it. Believe me, people would buy that in a second. But he wanted it really bad to put on his wall down up in Pensacola. So I said, take it. It's all yours.
Well, there you go. Always a good father-son bonding time there.
Oh, yeah.
Handing out Super Assassin gear. You don't hear that very often. You don't hear that very often. What'd you do with your son today? Would you play ball? Huh? Did you play like a little catch? No.
Yeah.
I gave him my Super Assassin outfit.
Yeah. Gave him that. Lovely, man. Lovely.
Really? Yep. That's a nice sentiment there. And again, you only last till January of '96, October to January. What was the deal? Was it just a, hey, come on, we'll see how it goes?
Once again, it was just kind of one of those things. They didn't know what the direction they wanted to go with it. And, back then, if you remember anything about WCW, they didn't have one person like Vince in charge. You had like 10 different individuals in charge. Yeah. So you don't know which direction anything's going, who's really the boss, who's giving you orders, where it's coming from. You got 10 different things. Like, you go to the ring, you got like 10 different finishes. It's like, which one am I? If I do this one, these other 9 can be pissed off. It's like, I don't know which direction to go. That's how it was. That's
sad to hear. I know the WCW at the time, it felt like it was going somewhere, but it just maybe too many bosses, too many chefs in the kitchen.
You got too many goddamn Indians in there, man. Too many of them. You need to have one boss, just like Vince. Everything comes down from one person.
Yeah. Agreed. 100% agreed. I thought it was just amazing because I'm like, oh, Powers of Pain are here. Super Assassins, what? And then everyone was there. Everybody was coming to WCW. Nasty Boys, Legion of Doom, Steiner Brothers, Harlem Heat, everybody that you ever heard of as a tag team. You look at the WWF's pitiful tag team division in 1995. I believe, if off the top of my head, you had the Godwins, you had the Smoking Guns, both kind of Southern gimmicks, Skip and Zip, the Body Donnas, and I think the New Rockers, not the Rockers, the New Rockers. And when you put new in front of it, or super, it's always better.
Yeah.
Super Assassin.
You're right about that. Yep.
I love it so much.
Absolutely. But I was actually signed probably about 6-7 months prior. I spent time at the power plant, and I was wrestling on WCW Saturday Night as Devon Storm, a dark Devon Storm, dark hair, very different from the Devon Storm of the WWF light heavyweight division with the bleach blonde hair and the bright colors and all that stuff. And I had been on the Saturday Night show, and I was being groomed to be the next like aggressive, larger kind of heel cruiserweight to come up. And with all of WCW's change of power and management, as the story goes, as I say, I always tell the story. As the story goes, I had flown into Denver, Colorado. Nitro had gotten out. I had flown in for the Saturday night show. I went to the hotel restaurant / bar. I had my hair down. I had a leather jacket on, and I looked like a freak, I guess. And Vince Russo took a liking to the way I looked. And then he inquired about how well I worked and yada, yada, yada. And at that time, David Flair was on all the main shows. Not a very strong in-ring performer, but for whatever reason, if you go back and look and do the research, he was popping a rating. People loved watching crazy David Flair stalk women and act crazy and whack people with a crowbar and all this crazy stuff he was doing. But again, unfortunately, not a strong in-ring performer. So somewhere somebody came up with the idea, we'll put him in a tag with a solid tag team partner. We'll let the partner do the majority of the work. That way we could still present David Flair in the ring, even though his partner would do the majority of the work. And it would solve the problem of not being able to put David Flair in the ring. So that's kind of how I got catapulted from WCW Saturday Night to the main roster.
Wow. Well, it all worked out because, again, you're right. David Flair was involved in many storylines. One, Stacey Keebler being pregnant and then not pregnant with someone else's baby, then not being pregnant. It was a fun ride for WCW fans. But that was the time that, like, honestly, I'll show my cards right now. When it was WCW versus the WWF, put the F back in for a moment, I was team WWF. I was appalled by Goldberg and the NWO. I was like, how dare you hurt my WWF? Because I was like 13 years old, so I was dedicated. If it was Twitter, it would have been a crazier world that we live in now.
Absolutely.
My God. But WCW in like 99, 2000, I started really going in because suddenly it seemed like Vince Russo was giving more opportunities to, say, you and Billy Kidman and Hugh Morris. Like there was a more precedent of let's make new characters. We can't live off of Hogan and Flair and Nash and Hall forever. And so did you feel like you with David Flair was working out because eventually, again, you're in storylines every single week?
Initially we were, and then we broke apart. We were kind of on, we were kind of off, and but it definitely gave an opportunity. It gave me an opportunity for a character that would do, for example, vignettes and speaking parts, where prior to that, I was pretty much just a high spot cruiserweight guy.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that I would be just a high spot cruiserweight guy. I never fathomed that I would be a quote unquote character. And this was a huge opportunity, and they gave me a character that was essentially a crazy person, which you really can't do wrong. And I had a whole lot of fun with. And people ask me how I pulled that character off so well. And honestly, it was that character was I'm by nature a very lighthearted, lovey, happy-go-lucky guy. If you look at that crazy smile in the eyes, that's the Crowbar is really just Chris Ford having a great time being on WCW, something that he never thought he would do, and enjoying being a character. If you really pick apart, if you psychoanalyze that character, that is me just enjoying the hell out of being a professional wrestler for a major company. And I'm not ashamed to say it.